You are live on 98.9 Northwest FM. This is the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan, joined by James. How you going, James? What's made you happy in the last week?
Oh boy.
Gets tough on the streets.
Yeah, it gets tougher every week. My sister made the banana bread cake kind of thing. It was very nice. I devoured it all very quickly.
Excellent.
That's all right. I think we've talked about it before.
All right. Also joined by Callum. What's going on, Callum? What's made you happy in the last week?
Man.
You've been playing World of Warcraft. That's made you happy.
Has it? Or is
Yeah,
it just
I mean,
That's a
all-
surface level happiness.
That's right. It's not real happiness.
Is it just bringing back... Well, real happiness. If we had to do real happiness, we wouldn't have anything.
That's it.
Because none of us are really happy.
Well, two things made me happy. I have reason to believe that my Angel's Egg 4K Deluxe Edition, whatever, pre-master has been posted.
Oh, nice.
And just today I got an update about my Deathstalker comic book.
Oh, yes. I got that as well.
Email to ask about postage.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's going to be good.
As for me, what made me happy this week, I've got two little things. I've got the announcement that the Stargate franchise is not dead and they're making a new series.
I'm...
Yeah.
What's the word?
Which is a mixed
Yeah,
hesitant.
I'll wait to see
Yeah.
more. But
But it's nice to see the IP still exists.
I mean, it's not a
such as-
reboot. They said it's like a sort of continuation. But yeah, we'll see.
And also the announcement of Guild Wars 1 being kind of remastered and readapted for modern tech, which is really cool. It's going to be Steam Deck and like tablet verified, which is the way I think I would enjoy it.
Yeah.
As a game where me and Callum spent many hours playing and enjoying.
Mm.
I think it might be a good time in my life to revisit it in a more handheld, kind of user-friendly format.
Yeah.
With some better accessibility and stuff. Yeah, that made me happy.
That's good.
All right, we'll go straight into it. Myself and James watched the new Netflix Guillermo Del Toro Frankenstein, and we have thoughts.
Yes.
Take it away, James.
Okay, how do I put this? So, Guillermo Del Toro is one of my favorite filmmakers. He's made some of my favorite films, Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy.
Shape of Water.
That's not one of my favorites, but it's a good movie.
Kronos.
Kronos, great movie.
I was worried for a second you were going to be like, that's not Guillermo, you racist. It's one of the other Mexican auto directors. I'm like, no, I'm sure it was.
Oh, I'm guilty of that. I got the director of Roma confused with Inarritu.
Well, Inarritu and
Alfonso.
Alfonso Cuarón, Inarritu,
They're all,
Guillermo del Toro. They're
all friends. They're like
the Mexican
Mexican
crew.
rat pack.
Yeah, the
of
three
filmmakers.
amigos.
Yeah.
I think they're cool. Anyway, yeah. So Guillermo del Toro, one of my favorite filmmakers. I mean, every time he has a movie, I'm like super excited. I need to go out there. But his last few movies, like Pinocchio, Nightmare Alley, even Shape of Water to an extent, they just something felt off about them. I can't quite put my finger on it. I could probably go into depth about it, but they didn't work for me as much as his older films, which there are a lot of filmmakers that we like, where as they get older and they change and their films aren't as good or whatever.
As they get popular, the pressure and the push to be more quote-unquote modern digital filmmakers
that's
is also
part of
it.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it, which we'll talk about with Frankenstein. So yeah, I mean, he's still a filmmaker who, on the strength of his older films, much like Edgar Wright, who we talked about, was it last week?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, when you make films as good as Guillermo del Toro's earlier films or Edgar Wright's earlier films, you've got a fan for life in me. Even though, The Running Man wasn't as good and Last Night in Soho wasn't as good and, Guillermo del Toro's like Pinocchio and whatever, still good, but like not as good as you expect
Maybe
them
the
or
fire
want them to be.
dims as they age.
I don't think so.
I don't think the fire dims. We've talked about this on the show. I think what happens is, it's not laziness. It's the studio gives you all these extra resources and all this extra crew, then you lose a little bit of the director when you've got like 100 helping hands.
Yeah, the CGI has caused a lot of problems. Just digital, you can do things so quickly, and it's the amount of control makes it enticing to directors, but ends up making the end product just less impressive.
And also the studio pressure of like, you have all these resources, I want the movie done quicker.
And the industry has changed so much that
and it's like, no, you're not going to do reshoots. You're not David Fincher. You're like, let's go.
Yeah, I mean, there are still, your Paul Thomas Andersons or even your Nolans who
the hero units of the movie world.
They just keep doing what they're doing, and no one's gonna like stop them or put them, change them. And then you've got like your Wes Andersons who have become the most extreme. He's become the most extreme version of himself. And it's not as good as his older stuff, it's still.
But not every auto director has like a billionaire just being like, "I love you, Wes."
Oh well, that's different because he's got someone like funding his films. Yeah,
he's got like a fan who's just a billionaire. He's just like, I will make your movies,
but
Wes.
You know what I mean?
You
like,
go, King.
Like Frankenstein is very Guillermo del Toro doing his thing, but so was Phoenician Scheme, Wes Anderson doing his thing. But Phoenician Scheme was this Wes Anderson turned up to 11. And even though it's not as good as his older films, it's still like, this is really just the purest Wes Anderson-ness. It's melted down and it's just the pure form. Whereas this Guillermo del Toro, like now, is just like, it's like this weird, mushy, more undefinable.
It's also a Netflix movie, James. Keep it in context.
Well, that's part of the problem as well. So... Anyway, I'll say all this to say that as much as I love Guillermo del Toro and as excited as I was about this movie, at the end of the day, it similar to his last couple of movies, I didn't really know how to feel about it. I didn't dislike it. I just don't think it was particularly great. I even hesitate to where to put it in the good category. Parts of it I really liked, other parts of it I really didn't like. I think the biggest problem with Frankenstein is the production design and the costume design is incredible. Fantastic. Like, Guillermo del Toro, that over-the-top gothic, colourful, weird...
and it was nice and gothic.
Yeah. But the cinematography and the lighting, awful.
That's the Netflix curse, baby.
So...
To an extent.
Yeah, but I mean, even his last... I guess Pinocchio was Netflix. Nightmare Alley, I guess, was theatrical, but that didn't look as good. But yeah, I mean, I just think, it's probably part of what we were just discussing with the way movies are shot now and just the industry trends and how the industry has changed. That's probably just a big part of it. Yeah, so it's just like you've got these incredible, they built these huge sets, which we're always talking about, why don't they build sets anymore? They did. You've got all these beautiful, detailed, intricate costumes. Amazing. And then the movie's shot like an episode of Stranger Things. It's this ugly, flat,
because Netflix pretty much mandates everyone use the same camera, right? The red camera.
Yeah, but I think we've talked about this where there are still your Netflix movies that look like real movies.
I think that's down to lenses. And I think one of the things I posted on one of our Instagram stories about this too was, I can't recall if it's short versus long lenses, but all movies today...
Oh, the shallow focus.
The shallow focus. And that's a part of it. And that frustrates me.
Yeah.
I watched that Instagram story and then I'm rewatching Stranger Things in anticipation of the new season. I'm like, everything out of the fourth shot is out of focus.
This is why we talk about, all these shows and these TV shows and movies coming out in the last 10, 15 years. They spend so much money and they look quote unquote expensive, but they also look super cheap because everything's shot like a crappy student film where it's like everything's out of focus and it's like, and the lighting is all this like fake digital blooming, and it's just like disgusting.
We shouldn't be having to complain so hard about the background being out of focus in pretty much every single movie.
Yeah.
It's like you spend money on all these sets, and you're not showing us them in most of the scenes.
Look at Wicked. Look at Wicked. The color grading on Wicked is a crime against humanity.
Perfect example. You see behind the scenes, and you see they've got these big sets. You've got everyone in these costumes,
gorgeous.
And then you look at the trailer, and it's just like, what did they do?
I made that argument. I made that argument to a friend of the show, Christian. And he was like, it's meant to be that way. I'm like, no, you look at behind the scenes and they've got basically a Technicolor vibe going on, and then they just brown wash it.
Yeah, Christian is a perfect example of a normie who doesn't watch movies, who goes to watch this and is just like, okay.
Do you think, is it John Chu who's making the Wicked movies?
John Chu, I believe, is the director, yeah.
Do you think he watches the original Wizard of Oz and he thinks ugly?
Or is that...
I saw I think it was Cracked not the. It was one of those parody websites. It was like John Chu admits he completely forgot to do the color grading, and it's like the quote was "Sorry, my bad" or something like. Sorry, guys, my bad.
But it's one of those things where it's just kind of like, is this studio interference where they're kind of giving notes to?
It's just the trend now. We talked about like the Marvel movies. It's like they're colorful, but also not. Like it's
you have to be
flat,
grimdark. You have to have it subdued. It has to be tonally
it doesn't make
realistic.
any sense. Yeah, and
I think that these directors should stay away from Netflix.
Well, but I don't think it's just a Netflix problem because, as we discussed, it's movies coming to the cinema. It's big budget theatrical releases. It's streaming releases. It's DVD. It's just the whole industry is now overrun with these ugly, boring, dull techniques.
We just need to bring film projectors back.
Yeah, but and that's the thing is, it's like you'd think. Because
I'll still look ugly because they're filming them ugly.
Yeah, because I was thinking, I'm like, some of these films we complain about were actually shot on film, but then they're color graded and put so much CGI garbage in there that doesn't matter.
Ultimately, I think the audience will know our feelings on CGI, but it's like, you know what? When it was done on film, at least I guess with budget constraints, it's like you had to rehearse, you had to do this, you had to do that.
Well, that's another thing. Yeah, that's another thing where that's another thing where which we can go on all night, which we won't because we're already taking up too much time. But yeah, that's another thing where they used to only use CGI where they had to because it was expensive and it was a new technology. So everything else was practical. They had to film in locations and use practical effects, and then they would have some CG elements which they would plan very carefully for. Whereas now they just CGI everything. The backgrounds are CGI because everything's shot on green screen. The creatures and the characters and even the human actors are sometimes all CGI, and it's just ugly and it's over. And then when they get like halfway through the process, the producers or whatever decide that they don't like it and they scrap it and they have to redo it all again, and they get some poor guy in Bangladesh who works a million hours to do all the CGI and not get paid for it.
In some cases,
they
Korea,
redo it,
and they don't get paid.
And they don't get paid, and it's like, and they have to redo it in record time just to get it out and for the movie. And that's why you get these bajillion-dollar movies that have all this CGI garbage that look like crap. Yeah,
and then the movie doesn't get released for tax reasons. But anyway,
and then they write it off and
anyway, let's keep it back to Frankenstein.
So Frankenstein, my biggest problem was that even though you have those really nice costumes and sets and production design, visually, like, the movie still looks bad. I think also, like we were just saying with CGI, this movie has a bit too much CGI, and it's not good CGI, and it takes you out of the movie when you're supposed to be caring for these characters. And then Frankenstein's monster has a 5-minute fight with CGI wolves, and I'm just like, what is this? And yeah, so those are probably
those wolves.
Yeah, those are the biggest sort of issues.
Just do what the boys did in the golden age of movies, and you just have huskies. Or
paint a German Shepherd grey. But so those are the most glaring issues. I think in terms of adaptation, I'm a huge fan of the novel. I've read it many times. I've seen several of the other movie adaptations of Frankenstein. Big Frankenstein fan. In terms of the adaptation, what they changed, I didn't mind. I like some of the changes. Some of the changes I didn't like. Some of the changes I liked. Overall, I thought it was pretty successful in the adaptation. But there are... I don't want to spoil anything, even though it's an old story. I guess what they changed is kind of new. But
spoilers for, like, what is it, like 1800?
No. The story changes would spoil the movie.
Yeah, so I can't really go into specifics, but I will say I wanted more Elizabeth, Mia Goth's character.
Yeah.
That whole stuff with her and the creature was just way too quick.
Is it a legal requirement to hire her in a goth movie?
I mean, it's just like an obvious choice.
Just hire the goth girl.
She has the vibe.
She has the vibe. Yeah, and she has the name.
Much like Lily Rose Depp.
Yeah.
I think my joke when it becomes here, but that's fine.
Yeah,
Mia Goth.
In the whole movie, it comes like,
Yeah. So she needed to be in it more. I think Jacob Elordi was good as the creature, but he's not as amazing as everyone is saying.
Yeah, but you know what, James? Counterpoint. Apparently, he looks hot.
Too hot for Frankenstein.
Yeah,
I'll leave it up to the audience to determine who's correct on this one.
Hot Frankenstein, you know, I don't know if we... Hot Frankenstein's monster, I should say.
Yeah, that's it.
Hot
Although
the creature.
Frankenstein's pretty hot too. Am I right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you got... Oscar Isaac. See, and that's another thing. I'm a huge Oscar Isaac fan. He's great. He's
too attractive to be the Frankenstein, though. Surely
he's
the doctor.
The Frankenstein's the doctor.
Well, Frankenstein's never been.
No, but I guess in all the versions I've seen, he hasn't exactly been like a model. You know what I mean?
Normally, isn't he like an old man?
No, he's a young man.
He's not that old, but like he's like the crazy scientist kind of guy.
Well, I think that's kind of like the old 1930s. Like he looks like an old scientist, but I think the novel he's a young man, and there are the Kenneth Branagh version where he like takes his shirt off and he's like running around sweating, and it's like this whole thing. But anyway, Oscar Isaac's great actor, and I like this version of Frankenstein, how he's kind of a narcissist and kind of a prick, and I don't mind that performance, but I think he might be a bit too old for the role, and also I wasn't 100% on board with his entire performance, so I was kind of like juggling that, and Also, the moments of violence in the film are cartoonish, mostly because of the CGI. But also because Guillermo goes like full like over the top with it, which normally I'd be like, oh, the monster punches the guy's head off, that's awesome. But in this like movie where you have to feel for this creature and the story and the romance of it, when he's fighting with wolves and throwing guys and cutting, karate chopping guys' heads off, I'm just like, what am I watching? It's not fun. It's not funny.
The tone was weird. Yeah.
And all I could think of was Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow, which is a movie that is kind of dark and gothic and serious, but has a sort of that Tim Burton-y weirdness, bit of cartoonish, like just a little bit, but it's balanced so well. Yeah. Whereas this, I don't think it had that balance.
No.
And a lot of it has to do probably with the CGI and just the silliness and the ugliness of how it looked. Sleepy Hollow is a perfect example of a movie that's dark and lots of blacks and greys and browns, but also has striking reds and, has such good cinematography and color grading that, it really also still feels like a vibrant
also
and has
previously
depth.
Told gothic tale itself.
Exactly, and so it has this depth to it that a lot of modern movies, in particular this Frankenstein, doesn't have anymore. So, yeah, overall, I don't think it's that good. I think I liked it more than I didn't, but also I can sort of take or leave it.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's very fair. I think that's basically the conclusion I came to as well.
Do you have anything else to add? Because I just rambled.
That's all right. I think the sets were nice. As I said, it wasn't filmed particularly well, but the sets were nice. Yeah. Like the location, like it looked... The environments looked nice, but it wasn't... I don't know how to describe it. Yeah. It wasn't filmed maybe as well as I would have liked it. Yeah. But yeah, it was okay. I did like one quote in the movie, which is choice is the seat of the soul, the one gift God granted us. I thought that was good, but yeah, I just think that the monster should have been uglier. He was they also changed the ending, which I won't again spoil. But as a fan of the book, I was like, okay, I see what they're doing, but also I was kind of like, I guess with the thing with Frankenstein as well, it's been adapted so many times that it's like, well, I guess it's an adaptation, so you can take liberties, and we've seen it so many times before. So I guess it's not, and like I said, it's not necessarily a bad thing, the thing they changed. But then, then you add it with the visuals, and it's just kind of like, well, that wasn't really worth, especially because Guillermo Del Toro was trying to get this made for like 20 years, and he finally got it made, and it feels like, oh. Ooh, I wonder what the movie from 20 years ago would have looked like.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
That would
like
have been.
Peak GDT.
Yeah. Like that's...
So I didn't watch it. I have one quick question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Does Jacob Elordi have the bolts through his head?
No, that's from the 1930s movie. That's not from the book.
Okay.
Yes. Actually, yeah. In this movie, he looks like
The alien
Prometheus, yeah,
which is pretty funny. Yeah,
yeah. I did like the design of the monster. I didn't dislike it.
It was fine. I feel like it was too clean. Like,
it was way too clean.
The incision, like, so
especially with the bad cinematography, it makes it look super fake. And
so for listeners who are aware of the franchise, or I'll say the IP, not the franchise, it's, the work. He's a monster cobbled from different parts of human flesh, and so one of my main complaints in this was like he's got different parts on his head, but it's the same face.
That's true, yeah.
He should have had like two half faces with like different features, different.
That would have been interesting, yeah.
Because that's how it would be done.
Yeah.
Not that I have any experience in doing this, but
don't look at my basement.
Don't look at the basement. But do you know what I mean? Like they could have played with that more to make him more repulsive. Because in actual fact, you're cobbling together a person from different parts.
Yeah.
They're not going to all look like Jacob Elordi.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of my main concerns. It was too clean and neat. I'm like, he didn't look like a monster. He just looked like a man with some art on his face.
Yeah, I think it was interesting though, because it like typically when you create a man made of parts of other men, you think of it in a way that it's been shown before of like the wrist has a suture, like stitches, and then the elbow has stitches, and then the shoulder has because it's like each part is slightly. Whereas this version was more like the Frankenstein created it in such a way where he like he took like I don't even know how to explain it, like the musculature, and he designed it around the sort of lines of like the human body going down instead of just cutting, more.
But if they looked visually distinct from each other more, I would have been happier because it all kind of just
they're just like there's slightly different colors,
tones of Jacob Elordi. Okay.
Yeah, he's still a handsome man even when he's looks like an alien.
Like a bit of it should have been hairy, a bit of it should have been not, a bit of it, like everyone, people have different complexions, spots, skin types. Yeah. Like they could have played with that more visually. And because it would have made him look weirder and everything else. But
they should just dirty him up a little bit.
Yeah.
Skin doesn't look like that.
He was too clean the whole time.
Even dead skin, I don't think looks like, that.
Yeah, not that we know.
Yeah, not that I know.
don't look in James's basement. So it's things like that. I think that just the movie itself is generally too clean. Much like yourself. I think it should have been grimier, dirtier.
And I think like people talking about the overall themes of the story and, parenthood and playing God and all that. It's just stuff we've seen in previous adaptations because that's, what Frankenstein's always sort of been about. I don't think this one adds a lot to the
It doesn't subvert Frankenstein and flip it on its head and make you angry?
Well, if it made me angry, I would have disliked it more, but it would have been.
Oh no, I'm saying that like normally when they do a reimagining of something, whatever, usually they take the subtext and they flip it around and make it. I was gonna say woke, but you know what I mean. Like they'll usually be like, here's Frankenstein on colonialism, and then that's like what the film is now.
They did, like when they were, what was it, like 15 years ago? They did like 1 or 2 Frankenstein movies that were like Hot Frankenstein, and the monster was hot, and and then they they were doing the Dark Universe thing with Tom Cruise's The Mummy and that tank, but I think Javier Bardem was going to play the monster.
That'd be awesome. Skill issue for everyone who didn't like that film.
The Mummy is awful.
Excluding James. James doesn't like it on cultural grounds.
That's the one. That's where you lose me completely.
Wait. We talking about Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise's
the Mummy. Yeah, it was fine.
That's where you lose me completely. Like you cannot defend. Like you will never be able to argue that movie has any merit at all.
We'll be back after.
Speaking of Tom Cruise.
No. That might come back later. We'll turn it around into.
I was gonna say, I have a segue.
Speaking of aliens, all right. We'll be back after these quick messages with more Tuesday Review. You are back on 98.9 Northwest FM. This is the Tuesday Review. We're gonna go something a bit different now. Something a little bit more in the boys' wheelhouse. A subject close to our hearts as we watch the skies.
Well, that was going to be my segue before we went to break. Is speaking of Tom Cruise, one, because he's not human.
Because he's superhuman in a good way.
Yeah. 2, he's in the top level of the ranks of a certain organization that believes in aliens.
Yes,
but also, probably Callum's second favorite topic after Tom Cruise is UFOs.
Correct.
So that tonight,
and he's also battled them on film, but
so tonight we're going to talk about the new UAP disclosure documentary,
the new old documentary.
Well, the Age of Disclosure,
produced and directed by Dan Farah. It was made a couple years ago, and in preparation for this, I listened to the latest Joe Rogan, which Dan Farah was on, talking about the film and his work and whatever. No production company would touch it. So he screened it everywhere. He screened it for 1,000-seat cinemas or auditoriums and whatnot. And he got standing ovations, and everyone loved it. All the studios loved it. No one wanted to publish it. Or distribute it. Yeah,
makes sense.
I guess it makes sense, but it's like, so one of the key figures in the documentary. So for listeners, this is one in a long line of documentaries about the UFO subject. This documentary is, I'll get my personal opinion out of the way before we delve into the nitty gritty. It's probably the best entry-level documentary on the subject you can get. Because you've got other ones of a similar nature where they talk to talking heads and the talking heads say, oh, yeah. This is the best version of that type of documentary. It's not like...
This is also notable because it's probably one of the first documentaries where all the talking heads are high-level government and military people who are coming out for the first time and either saying for the first time that they have witnessed something or that they know of people who have witnessed something or they know of certain programs. So it's not most UFO documentaries. It's like a couple of weirdos, couple of scientists, or it's focusing on one topic like Roswell. Whereas this is very much a modern,
it's modern... like a briefing of sorts for someone who's interested or just getting into the subject.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of these ones where I can't remember the names of them off the top of my head, but it's the same characters, if you will, appear in a lot of these films, especially the last few years. But this documentary is told in a more coherent way, and it also has the most testimony in that I can recall.
Yeah.
But it's different than, say, George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell's Bob Lazar documentary, which is a vital viewing, whether you believe him or not. Because that's like a focused look at like a very specific key part of the...
Yeah, it's focusing on one guy who's very divisive, and George Knapp is like a journalist, and Corbell is like a filmmaker. So,
whereas this is like a broad view of the whole subject. Yeah. With a view of being current.
Yeah, and through the lens of current events and
government insiders,
actual government and military insiders.
Now, what sets this documentary apart from the slop that has come before? And I say that with love.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, but most UFO documentaries are slop. Yeah. And I love the ones you get on Tubi, which are called like Interview with the Great Alien Volume 10.
Yeah, which that's another thing about at the Age of Disclosure is one of the things that sets it apart is it's actually a well-produced and has production value behind it.
It looks and sounds great.
So when you go on Amazon and Tubi and there's 6 million different alien UFO documentaries, usually they're bottom of the barrel, like very cheap kind of, and it's all the same stuff and whatever. And like I said, it's like focusing on one event or two events. Whereas this one is like actually more of a sort of well-produced.
There's thought behind the interviews. It's edited in such a way as to keep your attention.
Yeah.
So it's like there's actual editing involved, like to tell a cohesive narrative throughout the...
Yeah, there's nothing special in terms of the filmmaking, but it is a well-produced, nice-looking talking heads documentary with some archive footage and photos and mostly the interviews.
But what sets this one apart from the rest is this has Marco Rubio as a central figure in the documentary. And for those who might not be aware, Marco Rubio is the Secretary of State and is like technically the second or third highest member of the American government. I think it's second highest after the Vice President. Like in terms of if you leave the White House,
executive,
he's like the second highest ranking member or whatever, and he's apparently very concerned about the subject. So the idea of the documentary is to present a film which has gravitas behind it. So it's like, here are all these very serious people. Here's why we should be concerned about the Alamaus. Not because it's little green men come to steal our brains. Isn't that funny? Well, it's like, well, the thing about the film is it's unidentified aerial phenomena, as they use the term these days, but we'll just say UFOs.
Or Alamaus.
Space Brothers. But they're flying indiscriminately, violating airspaces, doing all kinds of naughty stuff, and no one can stop them. And so it's a question, if you're in the prevailing question of the documentary is, if you're in the government or if you're in the military, what do you do when confronted with evidence? And the people in the documentary feel like it's an incontrovertible fact that these things are here. Now,
that's another thing. The documentary is not there to try to convince anyone. It's like, no, this is a fact. The US military and government has said these things exist. They don't know what they are, but they exist.
Yeah.
And now we're telling you why this is important and, why it should be taken seriously. And here are all the people in the government and the military who are...
So if Marco Rubio is going to look at you in the eyes or go on camera as a serious man with a serious job and then say, oh yeah, they're real and I'm worried because we can't stop them. Now, there are going to always be skeptics out there who are going to be like, yeah, but you're hilarious, little grey man, should I be wearing my tinfoil hat? Okay, yeah, that's fine, because I feel that way too, right? Like, we all say, okay, but show us. You can say all you want, you can show me a 140p video and be like, here's the best the American military has got. I'm still not going to be wholly convinced of that.
I like the way this documentary kind of deals with that in a way where it explains in simple terms and clear terms, like, where it all is hiding.
Yes.
And why, say, members of government won't know, because it's in a defense contractor. It's in a sub-department of the CIA.
There are factions within the government and military. Some of them want disclosure, some of them don't. And they're sort of always pushing against each other.
And it goes into the concept of kind of like, well, the president is a part-time employee. Whereas the people who've been there for 50 years, they really run the show.
Well, what's interesting about this documentary is that there's a thing in the zeitgeist at the moment about psyops, because like with AI and online, the Twitter sphere and whatnot, a lot of people have been talking about how do you know what's real, how do you know what's fake, what's like, so especially with the UFO thing. If you have a member of the government coming up being like, I've been cleared to tell you this. Well, is that really the truth, or is that just what the government wants people to be told? And how do you authenticate that as genuine truth? But what I find interesting about this documentary is that it goes the furthest I've ever seen people publicly go. So like you have Eric Davis, the famous scientist Eric Davis of the Davis-Wilson memos, I believe. And like he's a big shot. Like, he knows stuff. Same with Hal Puthoff. They're both on the documentary together. They know things, allegedly know things that, like, for real, not just being like, oh, yeah, I saw an alien one time. I was on the base and I saw something. Like, these guys actually worked, at least Hal Puthoff allegedly has connections with what they call the Legacy Program, as in he knows scientists who worked on craft. And, like, they say things. They explained warp bubbles, and that's why you can't take photos of UFOs, is because... the way that the way the craft actually function is also, it's the same reason why people get radiation burns, the same reason people get cancer.
That's why they can move seemingly without.
They also talk about things like the Holloman landing, the Air Force Base landing. It's like these are stuff that you don't expect normies to be told. Because that's like,
well, that's
what I like about it. It's like that's like kind of like stuff where I'm like, I know about that because I'm a neckbeard. But it's like, someone who's not interested at sitting at home is going to be like, wow, this is crazy to hear.
Yeah, for people who are sort of, interested in the topic, mostly everything in the documentary we've heard of before. And everyone who speaks we've heard from before. So it's like nothing new in that regard. There's no major revelations.
But they go a step further publicly than they have done
exactly.
in the past.
And also because it is military and government, like officials, there's some sort of credence, I guess you can argue against that. But also, I think for a newcomer to watch this, it does put it in a nice little package of all the stuff out there on YouTube and podcasts and other documentaries. It all kind of wraps it up in a here's what's been going on the last 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah, and it's relatively up to date.
Yeah, and like, you know, here's sort of, you know, not the legitimacy of it, but it's like there is something going on, and it should be we should be at least looking at it.
It's one of those things where you don't have to believe in the existence of extraterrestrial life or however you want to contextualize it. But like allegedly the military find craft doing things, interfering with their own weapons that they shouldn't be doing, and these are things that occur. Yeah. And if it's not an extraterrestrial doing this crazy stuff, that means it's a foreign or domestic enemy. Well, that's also a concern. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where if there is a there, and everybody in the documentary has very high credentials or credibility, however you want to frame it, they say it's going on, and it's been going on for a long time, well then surely we should stop making fun of it and then actually look at it from an honest perspective, regardless of how we feel scientifically about it.
That's another interesting thing is for years and years and decades, UFOs was like the silly thing, the fringe thing. Even just a few years ago, if you talked about it on the news or whatever, you were laughed at, whatever. But over the last couple of years, it's now started to become a little bit more mainstream, where mainstream media outlets are starting to talk about it more seriously. The government, the military, the US government, the military at least, are sort of coming out and talking about it more. And now I think this documentary is a good example of, you know, something that's not just a cheap throwaway thing on Tubi, but it's like an actual sign of the times we're in, where it's like, I think they even say at the end of the documentary, it's like, this is just the beginning. Like, this is the time, you know, this is the start of where things are really going to get going, which we've been hearing that for a long time.
Well, I'm rolling my eyes in the studio.
But it does feel like that this is the most seriously this has been taken ever.
So what's fascinating is, like I said, I listened to the Joe Rogan episode with the director on.
And speaking of, like, that's an example of why people don't take this stuff seriously, because the UFO, UAP thing has become entwined with the alt-right magosphere and the conspiracies, and some dumbass like Joe Rogan.
To be fair to Joe Rogan, though, he takes this incredibly seriously.
But it's like Joe Rogan, he used to be that fun, dumb guy who just used to have interesting gurus and scientists and stuff on to talk about UFOs and aliens and stuff. But now he's become more of this dangerous kind of weird Trump, and it just sullies the whole thing.
The whole thing, we used to talk about this a lot on the show in previous years, but conspiracies used to be fun.
Yeah.
And this is and unfortunately, the UAP, UFO topic is firmly grounded in that conspiracy kind of area of the psyche.
Yeah.
And automatically, the kind of people that will be drawn to UFOs are real are also the kind of people that were drawn to COVID's going to kill you, mate. They're putting the same kinds of people are more likely to believe in both.
Yeah, the Pizzagate people is like gonna
the same people that are already drawn to every conspiracy, they're also going to be vocal on this too.
They're going to be vocal on everything. I think that's an unfair characterization.
No. I'm not saying they're the same in the Venn diagram, but I'm saying there's enough crossover with the loud minority can poison the well.
Yeah. To be fair, even in the documentary, they talk about this subject is the most bipartisan subject in the history of like the government for like 50 years or whatever.
That's easy for the guys who have seen the bodies to say.
But what I find interesting is in the Joe Rogan episode, Farah talks about like people like Jay Stratton. I don't think he says this in the documentary, but in Farah's interview, he says that he had to cut a whole bunch of stuff because he filmed like 40 hours or something. So he had to go through, and which is a testament to how good his filmmaking is, where to pare everything down into this kind of entry-level thing. Jay Stratton allegedly saw craft and bodies with his own eyes when he was on the UAP task force. And he's one of the most interesting guys in the documentary because, you know, Louis Elizondo claims to have been in the ATIP and whatnot. Well, Jay Stratton legitimately was, regardless of where you fall on the Louis Elizondo thing, because that's a whole drama we don't have time to talk about.
Yeah, so I think we talked about
devil's avocado time here, right? So there was a meeting back in, the 50s, where the change of physics was from material physics to theoretical physics, string theory, etc. Now,
that's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole other thing, but it rips back into what I'm about to say. So, devil's avocado time. What if, obviously now the material and practical physics kept going under the Department of Energy, Department of Defense black programs, where for 75 years we've been learning and advancing material science. Why can't grey aliens be drones, and why can't these ships just be secret science?
Who knows?
That because of cataclysmic kind of consequences, if this math knowledge got out, it could end the world.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because in the Rogan interview, this is kind of hinted at, where Farah says that what he was told by multiple people was that the reverse engineered tech, which he claims that there's like dozens or whatever of craft retrievals, some crashed, some gifted in quotation marks. He claims that America has access to these craft and they figured it out, but they would only use it at the moment before a nuclear strike. It's like they would never risk revealing their hand until there was literally no other hope left for America.
Well, I think they talk about it in the documentary as well, and I think we've talked about it before, whereas one of the many, 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 many reasons why they haven't come out and told people the truth is because then they'd be telling Russia and China.
Yeah, and in the Rogan interview, they also talk about the economic fallout of the other defense contractors saying, you got access to this and we didn't, my business folded because of you, rah, 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 rah. So there's also that element. But what I thought was interesting was some of the stuff that he didn't get to film was alleged, if you believe him, and I have no reason to doubt him, he actually got into contact with people who worked on the programs themselves, and they were going to come out, but they were told, he doesn't know what happened behind the scenes, but they used the same language. So I think it was like a coordinated message. They reached out to him and said, we have decided that it would not be worth forfeiting our lives to come and appear on your program. And then they just ghosted him. So he was close to having people who work in the actual program on revealing it on his show, like the documentary, but they got cold feet at the last second, and I don't blame him for one moment. But yeah, that's fascinating. Apparently he's thinking about doing a sequel, or alternatively pivoting to doing a similar style documentary on remote viewing, which is a not directly connected subject, but kind of like cousins, if you will.
Oh, yeah. It's all the kind of embarrassing, forbidden conspiracy science wheelhouse, right?
Yeah.
It's the stuff that's a little bit too uncomfy to talk about, like the power of consciousness and those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's all part of the Black program, sort of secret.
Speaking of Stranger Things, comes out soon.
That being said, it was nice to see Eric Davis appear in a documentary. It was nice to see Hal Puthoff appear in a documentary. Jay Stratton and Rubio. Like I said, Rubio, in my opinion, is even though he doesn't know stuff like some of the others might know stuff, it's a big step forward for this type of documentary, this type of conversation, to have someone like him appear serious on camera and then say statements like, we need to figure it out. Because hopefully people in the government might be more willing to have an open conversation about what they've been working on.
Yeah.
Because like Dan Farah says on some of the interviews he's been doing, it's like some of these guys, you don't know they're working for, these deep cover programs. You might be going to a bake-off or whatever, and then that other woman there is working on the legacy program. You're not going to know. It's like they're just regular people, unfortunately, tied up in deep black projects.
It's interesting because I think we've talked about before, but there is something, and we want to know what. And I'm a skeptic. I don't know what's out there, but I think it's something. Like I said, it's something we should be looking at and taking seriously, because there's definitely something. I don't know exactly what, but there's something going on. And there's so much crazy stuff going on in the world right now in a very tangible, immediate level, especially in America, with the political and the social situation there. So it's like, of course, this doesn't seem like an important topic. like UFOs, UAPs, like who cares? But if what they're saying is true, it is...
Well, so Ross Courthouse
the biggest,
the most important topic in human history.
We've talked about it before. It's like it changes everything. But I think also because we live in the current climate we do, nothing anyone does or says can be taken
at face value.
Value, especially when you bring in American politics and capitalism. So even though I believe there's something going on and I believe it's something we should be looking into, I'm always like have to take a step back when, they say it's a bipartisan issue, whatever. But at the end of the day, I can't trust anyone in the military. I can't trust anyone in any politicians.
The people you can trust, I'm being brutally honest, the people you can trust in this documentary, the people you should be trusting, they don't appear in the documentary.
That's correct. Well, it's all, at some level, they're all snake oil salesmen.
At some level, you're working with the government or against the government, and these people working for the powers.
The only person who's ever come forward against the government is Bob Lazar,
and they made him look crazy.
That's
and nearly ruined him.
It's like I was saying earlier, where this documentary
and that guy who killed himself. You know what's that guy who he didn't kill himself, but they said that he did.
Oh yeah,
the deep underground military bases guy.
Yeah. He killed himself by shooting himself in the back of the head 5 times or whatever.
Classic Russian style.
He was like a Bob Lazar style guy as well.
No, but it's just like, because like earlier I was saying, like there are these military and government figures who lend credibility because they're coming out and they're risking potentially their lives, but also their careers, and it's like seems like the first time where this kind of level of military and political people of this stature. It's the first time they're actually coming out and saying, I saw this, I'm part of this, or I know people who are.
And do they name organizations in this one as well?
They talk about the CIA, ATIP, Department of
the contractors.
Energy.
They don't directly name contractors.
No, they don't.
He does in the Rogan. He lists them off in the Rogan. I suppose maybe that they didn't want to get sued.
Yeah, they're being careful because.
Do you remember when
the Lockheed Martin guy?
Do you remember when they
got snuffed out?
Do you remember when someone tried to get Lockheed Martin to admit the craft or whatever, and they just sent back an email being like, "Please forward this to this division."
Yeah. So, but I mean, again, like there is something going on there. But yeah, there is a credibility to it, and this is the first time people of this stature have come out and just been like on film, like, and been like, this is the thing. So in that case, it does lend credibility. But yes, on the other hand, I am like, I don't trust any of these people, and I'm not sure what to believe. I'm not sure if this is disinformation or misinformation.
That's the problem.
I'm not sure.
Like, is it disclosure if it comes from the government?
Yeah, there's no answers as of yet in this documentary, and there's no proof, there's no evidence. So if you're a skeptic and you watch this documentary,
you're not going to be swayed. You're
not going to be convinced.
No. And the goalposts always move too. Right, and the current goalpost is something's happening in 2027. It's always conveniently a couple years away. So I guess we'll see.
I don't know.
Catastrophic disclosures the way, boys.
I reckon
I think that they should make a movie about that. Because that's
Steven Spielberg.
Well, that's what I was going to say next.
That's the only way, as far as I can see it, in this climate, that's the only way it actually happens.
But then there's, like I was saying, there's so much stuff going on in the real, like, immediate sense that even if aliens just landed everywhere, I think people's brains would just break.
Fake news.
It would be like, well, it's clearly a psyop from the loony left, false flag. Hillary Clinton's trying to take over the world with people dressed as grey aliens, and it's just like we live in such a weird, fractured, anti-intellectual, whirlwind of noise and nonsense. That, I mean, at this point, I don't know what it would take to convince people.
I think that the government tried. Do you remember a couple of years ago, they tried to get that eminent domain clause in the thing. And so this is when I knew it was probably real. Was when some of the states, like some of the senators, were kicking and screaming about that one clause.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, you can't have that clause in there. Well, then if it's not real, don't worry about it. Leave it in there. But like, there was like one state, which is where Lockheed's based, furious over it. They were the
lobbies were not happy.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's like, okay, well, if you do not have anything in your possession that was made by inhuman hands, you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
In a sense, that was disclosure already.
Yeah.
Because it's like, well, okay, well, obviously you got something you're concerned about.
Exactly. But I mean, as with everything, capitalism ruins the day. So I think the only way we're going to have proper disclosure, true disclosure,
if it's catastrophic,
is if it's catastrophic, or we finally get to a point politically where we are so transparent and truly.
I think there's enough cameras around that the way it should happen is just like a craft crashes in a city.
But that's what I was saying is even if that does happen, it'll be like, oh, it's just terrorists and yada yada.
There is the idea I think they float in the film. They've been floating it in the interviews as well. Is that you need a amnesty. That's the only way it happens. Is if you offer a general amnesty to anyone for any crimes committed as a part of this deep cut, all the alleged murders, embezzling, all that stuff, because the budget for it is like $1 trillion that goes missing every year.
Yeah.
So like, if you had a general amnesty for all of the crimes that have ever been committed for the legacy program, and then you pretend that they're heroes and you say, you guys are doing it for the country, and you make them feel good, because that's what they say. That's kind of what you have to do. You have to ignore all the mess and be like, you guys are champs. And then, get a statue of some random pencil pushers on or whatever in some city. Then we might get to see some stuff.
Yeah.
But the problem is, we'll end on, I guess, kind of a somber note. Allegedly, one of the reasons, allegedly, I want to use it in big capital letters, allegedly, because everything about this is allegedly. The reason that they don't want disclosure is because it's a really, really depressing reality. Whatever it is that's going on is not something nice to talk about or to think about.
Or the alternative is, if disclosure is announced, it's the scout theory, where it's like they send these crafts in and they're like little scouts, but if we acknowledge that we know they exist, it can lead to
sets off the full invasion or whatever.
There's also the Wu theory, which is, if you talk to people like Eric Davis and how put off, they'll tell you what's real, is that when you investigate the phenomenon, it investigates you back. So they call it the, what is it? Not the phantom effect.
I know what you're talking about. It follows you. The
observer.
No,
close enough.
It follows you home, basically.
Yeah.
What happens?
Hitchhiker effect.
Hitchhiker effect.
Yes,
That's it.
Yes.
If you announce that it's real and you tell everyone it's real and you show them the evidence, does that mean the hitchhiker effect extends to the human race?
Exactly.
What happens? It'll be like a Smile situation.
We got to make that movie. Trademark Tuesday Review 2025.
Disclosure Hitchhiker coming soon.
I just quickly wanted to mention that there is a bit in the documentary, and it's something that's been part of UFO lore for a long time, that CIA is actually funding Hollywood sci-fi movies to soften the blow, to present the idea of
Spielberg.
of aliens being real, or alternatively to make it seem more fake, silly, so that if it is true that they're like, it's just a movie. But Spielberg is apparently making a movie that was called The Dish, but then was called Disclosure. And now apparently it's called The Dish again, which I don't like. I actually like Disclosure as a title better. Also, The Dish is already an Aussie movie about the moon landing. So I'm excited about that, whatever it is. I don't think it's not gonna reveal anything true, but it's hopefully gonna be a great movie.
You don't know.
We'll see.
We'll talk about this later. You know the story about Close Encounters.
Yeah.
Listeners,
Spielberg knows.
He knows a lot. We are out of time.
Listeners should look up the story about Spielberg making Close Encounters.
We're all out of time for tonight. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week. We're on most of the social media garbage at Tuesday Review AU. That's Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Newsmask, Blue Sky, and YouTube. Thanks again for James for picking up some slack.
Yeah, we had some issues with the YouTube, but we're sort of back on track now, so make sure you're subscribed.
And we're on Letterboxd. I'm Nathan B_90.
I'm ChannelDrifter.
And I'm Callum Tuesday.
And Alum is Alum20, but he's not here tonight. And we'll be back next week. Adios, cousins.